The chair was velvet, crimson, and very, very empty, which should have been my first warning. The second warning was the way every alien noble in the Grand Hall of House Vel'Krath turned to stare at me the moment I sat down. The third was the soft, deadly whisper that came from my left. Human. You have just claimed the seat of my future mate. I froze my wine glass halfway to my lips. The speaker was Thal'vira Vel'Krath, third princess of the Obsidian Throne, known across 12 star systems as the Blade of Silent Nights. Her scales were midnight blue, her eyes burned like dying stars, and her reputation included 17 confirmed political assassinations, all of which he'd committed personally before her 100th birthday. She was also, I realized with dawning horror, the reason the seat had been empty. My voice came out as a croak. I apologize, Your Highness. I'm just a trade envoy. Human delegation. I didn't know, obviously. Her tail, tipped with a barb that could pierce starship hull plating, curled around the leg of my chair. Not threatening. Not yet. The question now becomes, what do I do with you? The banquet hall stretched around us like a cathedral of black marble and bioluminescent crystal. 300 guests from the Vel'Krath Empire's most powerful houses watched our exchange with the hungry attention of predators scenting blood. In their society, accidents didn't exist. Every action was intentional. Every mistake was an insult. And I had just publicly claimed to be Thal'vira's future consort. Your Highness, I said carefully. Surely there's been a misunderstanding. If you'll allow me to simply relocate? Her laugh was musical and terrifying. You sat in the chair of claiming human. Before witnesses. Before the heads of 17 noble houses. Before my mother, the Empress herself. I followed her gaze to the raised dais at the hall's far end. The Empress Vel'Krath sat upon a throne of crystallized dark matter, her ancient eyes fixed upon us with an expression I couldn't read. By our law, Thal'vira continued, you have 3 options. First, you may declare yourself my intended and submit to the trials of worthiness. The survival rate is approximately 4%. My mouth went dry. Second, you may admit to deliberate insult against House Vel'Krath. The punishment is public execution by solar immersion. And third? I managed. She smiled, revealing teeth that could shred titanium. Third, you convince me, in the next 30 seconds, why I should offer you a 4th option that doesn't exist. 29 seconds. I thought about everything I knew about the Vel'Krath. Their empire spanned 40 systems. Their warriors were legendary. Their politics were Byzantine and brutal. 20 seconds. But they valued one thing above all else. Strength. Not just physical, they had plenty of that. They valued the strength to survive impossible situations. The cunning to find paths where none existed. 15 seconds. Your Highness, I said. You're the Blade of Silent Nights. 17 political kills. But none in the last 3 years. Her eyes narrowed. Careful, human. 10 seconds. There's a reason for that. A reason you've been attending peace summits and trade negotiations instead of enforcing your mother's will with blood. A reason you need a mate selection process that's virtually impossible to survive. 5 seconds. You're trying to delay, I said. Something's happening in your court, and you need time. I just gave you the perfect excuse. Silence. The princess studied me with those burning eyes, and I saw something flicker in their depths. Not anger. Not offense. Recognition. You are either very perceptive, she said quietly, or very lucky. With humans, I replied, it's usually both. She rose from her seat, and the entire hall held its breath. Mother, she called out, her voice carrying across the marble expanse. I invoke the ancient right of consideration. This human has claimed my seat, and I wish to determine his worthiness through extended observation before the trials begin. The Empress's expression didn't change. How long? 1 lunar cycle. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Empress tilted her head, a gesture that somehow conveyed both suspicion and amusement. Granted. He is your responsibility, Thal'vira. If he proves unworthy, his failure reflects upon you. Understood, Mother. As the princess pulled me from the chair and guided me toward a side passage, her grip iron on my arm, she leaned close enough that only I could hear. You guessed correctly, human. Something is happening in my court. And now that you've stumbled into it, you have 1 month to help me stop a coup that will destroy my entire house. Her claws pricked my skin. Or we both die. The doors closed behind us, and I realized my evening had just become significantly more complicated. The princess's private chambers were a study in contradictions. Elegant silk hangings alongside weapon racks bristling with blades, delicate crystalline art beside tactical holomaps of star systems. She released my arm the moment the security seals engaged, and I watched her carefully maintain composure fracture. 3 years, she said, pacing before the panoramic window that overlooked the capital city's glittering spires. 3 years I've been building alliances, positioning loyalists, gathering evidence. And now some human trade envoy stumbles into my web and nearly destroys everything. I apologize for the inconvenience of not wanting to be executed, I said dryly. She spun on me, scales rippling with color changes I was beginning to recognize as emotional indicators. You have no idea what you've done. The chair of claiming is monitored. Every noble house will now be investigating you, your background, your connections, your purpose here. I'm a trade envoy. My purpose is to negotiate mineral rights in the Kepler expanse. Your cover is a trade envoy. No one will believe that now. She stopped pacing, fixing me with those star-bright eyes. So let me be direct, human. What is your actual mission here? I considered lying. But something in her gaze told me she'd know, and that the consequences would be severe. Observation, I admitted. Human intelligence has detected unusual military movements along your border. Fleet repositioning that doesn't match any known tactical doctrine. My government wanted eyes inside the Empire. Die then. Observer. There's a difference. Not to an executioner. But she seemed almost relieved. Your intelligence detected the movements. Did they determine the cause? No, that's what I was supposed to find out. Thal'vira moved to one of her tactical displays and activated it with a gesture. A three-dimensional map of the Vel'Krath Empire materialized between us, with certain systems highlighted in pulsing red. Those movements are my sister's doing, she said. Thal'vira, second princess, heir apparent to the Obsidian Throne. She's been quietly consolidating military assets for the past 2 years, placing her loyalists in command positions, establishing supply caches in systems that have no strategic value, unless you're planning an internal strike. I studied the map. She's positioning for a coup, against our mother, yes, but also against me. Thal'vira's voice dropped. Thal'vira knows I'm the only one who could challenge her claim. My reputation, my connections among the warrior caste, my history of removing obstacles. She needs me eliminated before she moves. And you've spent 3 years preparing a countermove. Building evidence. Identifying her co-conspirators. Preparing to present an undeniable case to the Council of Houses that would strip her of succession rights. She deactivated the map, but I needed more time. Another 6 months perhaps. Your arrival has accelerated everything. How? Because now Thal'vira has the perfect opportunity. The princess's voice was bitter. The trials of worthiness. Ancient tradition demands that during the trial period, the claiming party must prove themselves through a series of challenges. Challenges that can be influenced by those with resources and motivation. Understanding dawned. She'll try to kill me during the trials. She'll succeed in killing you during the trials. And my failure to protect my claimed mate will be a public humiliation that undermines my standing among the noble houses. My allies will distance themselves. My evidence will be dismissed as the desperate accusations of a weakened princess. So we have 1 month. We have less. Thal'vira brought up another display. This one showing arrival schedules. Trials begin in 3 days. The first challenge is the hunt of the void drake, a creature that hasn't been successfully killed by a claimed mate in 60 years. What happens if the mate dies? The claiming is void. The princess is shamed. And in my case, my sister's agents will ensure I suffer a tragic accident shortly thereafter. I sat down on an ornate couch that was probably worth more than my entire career earnings. So your options are, let me die and lose everything you've built, or somehow keep me alive through ancient trials designed to kill anyone who attempts them. There is a third option. She moved closer, her presence overwhelming in a way that had nothing to do with her physical deadliness. Help me gather the final evidence I need. Expose my sister before the trials conclude. Force the council to act. And in exchange, I publicly declare you a champion of House Vel'Krath. Honored ally. Return safely to your people with a trade agreement that will make your career. And if we fail? Her smile was sharp as her blades. Then we'll die together, human. Take comfort in the knowledge that you'll have significantly more company in death than you would have if you'd simply been executed for sitting in the wrong chair. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. All right, princess. What do you need me to do? The evidence we needed was in the Vault of Whispers, a repository deep beneath the palace where the Vel'Krath stored their most sensitive secrets. Communication intercepts, surveillance recordings, financial transactions that couldn't be officially acknowledged. My sister's transmissions to her fleet commanders are encoded, Thal'vira explained as we moved through servant passages that she seemed to know better than the main corridors. But the encryption keys are stored in the vault. With those, I can decrypt 3 years of communications. Proof of conspiracy, proof of treason, proof that cannot be denied. And the vault is guarded by ancient constructs. Biomechanical sentinels that answer to the imperial bloodline. She paused at an intersection listening. My blood will grant us entry. But once inside, we have limited time before the incursion is logged and investigated. How limited? Perhaps 10 minutes. We encountered our first unexpected ally at the entrance to the lower passages. A elderly Vel'Krath male in servant's robes who materialized from a shadow so smoothly that I nearly drew the weapon Thal'vira had given me. Peace, young human. His voice was like rustling leaves. I am Vorkel, keeper of the household's older ways, and I have been waiting for the princess to make her move. Thal'vira's posture shifted subtly. Suspicious, but not hostile. You know what I'm doing? I know what your sister is doing. I've known for 2 years. The old servant's eyes held depths of cunning that belied his subservient position. The servants see everything, princess. We hear everything. We simply choose when to speak. Why speak now? Because your human has done something remarkable. Vel'Krath smiled, revealing teeth worn with age but still sharp. He has made the second princess afraid. This morning she doubled the guards on the Vault of Whispers. Moved your timeline forward by ordering the first trial accelerated. She fears what you might find with human help. Human help? I asked. What can I do that she couldn't? You are unexpected, the old servant said. Unpredictable. Humans think differently than we do. Your pattern recognition, your intuitive leaps, your capacity to see connections where we see only chaos. The second princess knows that if anyone can help Thal'vira find the final evidence in time, it would be a human observer trained in intelligence work. I exchanged glances with the princess. We hadn't told anyone my actual purpose here. The servants see everything, Vel'Krath repeated. Now, the vault guards have been doubled, but there is another way. A way only the household's keepers know. He produced a crystalline key from his robes. This accesses the maintenance passages. The constructs don't monitor them. They're beneath notice, just like us servants. Thal'vira took the key, her expression unreadable. Why help me, Vel'Krath? My sister could reward you handsomely for your silence. Your sister would kill everyone who knows too much once she takes power. Your mother kept balance. You would keep balance. Thal'vira would bring only blood. He bowed, a gesture of surprising formality. The servants have chosen our princess. Now you must choose to trust us. The maintenance passages were cramped, dirty, and clearly not designed for anyone of Thal'vira's height. We crawled through conduits that probably hadn't been cleaned in decades, navigating by the princess's bioluminescence and my desperate hope that we weren't about to trigger some ancient security measure. We emerged into the Vault of Whispers through a floor grate that should have been possible. It opened directly into the archive section, bypassing the construct guardians entirely. 10 minutes, Thal'vira whispered, moving toward the storage mattresses with practiced precision. Find the encryption key registry. It should be catalogued under Imperial Security, subsection 7. I worked alongside her, my human eyes scanning the unfamiliar filing systems with the pattern recognition skills that apparently made me valuable here. The Vel'Krath organized information differently than humans, hierarchical but with lateral connections that seemed almost organic. There. Found it. I pulled the data crystal from its housing. But there's more here. Financial records. Transfer authorizations to accounts in neutral systems. It looks like your sister's been embezzling from the military budget. Take everything. Thal'vira's voice was tight. We may only get one chance at this. We had 7 minutes left when the alarm triggered. Not from our intrusion, from somewhere else in the palace. Sirens that I'd been told indicated an assassination attempt. The Empress. Thal'vira breathed. Thal'vira's moving early. She must have learned we were. Go. The word left my mouth before I'd fully thought it through. Go to your mother. I'll get the evidence out. He won't survive. You don't know the passages. I got in. I'll get out. But if your mother dies tonight, no evidence will matter. I pressed the data crystals into her hands. You're the only one who can decrypt these. You're the only one who can stop your sister. Go. For one moment she hesitated, and I saw something in her burning eyes that hadn't been there before. Something almost human. Then she was gone, flowing through the passages with predatory grace, and I was alone in the most secure vault in the Vel'Krath Empire, with alarms screaming and guards converging. I thought about my training. I thought about the maintenance passages. I thought about the fact that humans were unpredictable. Then I did something the constructs would never expect. I walked directly toward them, hands raised, and surrendered. The holding cell was surprisingly comfortable, all things considered. The Vel'Krath apparently believed in treating their prisoners well before executing them. I spent 3 days there waiting. The guards wouldn't speak to me. The food was excellent, and all I could do was hope that Thal'vira had reached her mother in time. On the 4th day the door opened, and the princess walked in. She looked different. Harder, somehow. There were fresh scars on her scales, and her eyes held a white that hadn't been there before. You're alive, I said. So are you. She sat across from me, studying my face. That was unexpected. When I heard you'd surrendered to the constructs, I assumed you'd be executed immediately. I gambled on your people's love of formality. Important prisoners need important trials. It bought time. I paused. Did it work? Is your mother alive? Thanks to my warning. Thal'vira's voice was carefully neutral. My sister's assassins reached her chambers, but the Imperial Guard was ready. Thal'vira tried to claim it was a misunderstanding, that her agents acted without orders. The evidence? Presented to the Council of Houses this morning. Your financial records were particularly damning. My sister had been funding her coup with stolen military funds for years. The encryption keys let us decode everything. A ghost of a smile crossed her features. including a message she sent last night ordering her agents to eliminate me with extreme prejudice. The council found that somewhat conclusive. What happens now? Thal'vira has been stripped of succession rights and sentenced to exile. In the outer systems. Her co-conspirators are being rounded up as we speak. My mother has named me heir apparent to the Obsidian Throne. The princess paused. And you, human spy who surrendered yourself to save an alien princess's empire, have become something of a legend. I was hoping for trade envoy who made an embarrassing seating mistake and then went home quietly. Unfortunately, that ship has sailed. Thal'vira rose and extended her hand, a human gesture that looked almost natural on her. Council has declared you a champion of House Vel'Krath, honorary citizen of the Empire, friend of the throne. Your government is thrilled. Apparently this is the best diplomatic outcome they could have imagined. I took her hand, feeling the strength in her grip, the careful restraint of claws that could shred steel. And what about the trials of worthiness? Am I still technically your claimant? An interesting question. Her burning eyes held mine. Tradition states that the claiming is void if the mate dies during the trials or proves unworthy. You did neither. You survived and proved yourself invaluable to the Empire's stability. Meaning by ancient law you have passed the trials without ever having to face them. The Council has ruled that your actions constituted an even greater test of worthiness than combat against a void drake. She released my hand but didn't step back. You are, technically, my legal intended. I processed this information. I assume there's a way to dissolve that, several. But she didn't sound particularly interested in them. However, such a dissolution would need to wait until the political situation stabilizes. Perhaps 6 months? A year, during which time we would need to maintain appearances. Diplomatic appearances. Public functions. The occasional state dinner. Her smile was sharp and knowing. I understand if this is an unacceptable burden. Humans value their independence. I thought about everything that had happened. The terror of that first moment in the chair. The desperate alliance in her chambers. The trust she'd placed in me when I told her to go to her mother. The look in her eyes when she'd hesitated. I took the only empty seat at a banquet, I said. Apparently I'm committed to seeing where it leads. The princess, the future empress, laughed. It was a genuine sound, warm and surprised and somehow more dangerous than any threat she'd ever made. You are a strange creature, human. With us, I replied. It's usually both. She led me out of the cell and into a palace transformed. Servants bowed as we passed. Guards saluted. Nobles who had watched my apparent death sentence being pronounced now scrambled to offer congratulations. And walking beside the deadliest princess in 12-star systems, I realized that sometimes the worst mistake of your life could become the beginning of something extraordinary. All because I took the only empty seat at a banquet. Some accidents, it turned out, were fate in disguise.